Hello again, this is Becca, often going by Nightcat or Nightcat's Meow when online, and welcome back for another week dealing with Linden scripting language. I've actually started to hear from a couple of you, mostly in Second Life. Wouldn't mind some comments, but in YouTube, but definitely appreciate hearing from you in SL. Hi, waves to all of you. Hi. Anyway, I found out there was some trouble following the week where we did the rotating door, the one that would actually move out to you, or the way that most real-world doors do. And I wasn't able to find out exactly what the problem was with that, why it was hard to follow, but I'm going to go ahead and address all the possible issues anyway. I figure if one person had a problem, then others might as well. If you had trouble with it, don't feel bad. This is totally my fault. I threw a lot of things in there. A couple of them, ones that I do so much, they're just second nature. And I probably did not think to explain some of it in enough detail. So we're going to build 3 versions of a door that will turn outward towards you. And they're going to use mostly the same methods, but there'll be a few differences. This should guide you through pretty much any variation of a door you're going to have to build. So, the first one, the one most like what we had in that week, started with the Mark I cube. Now, I had it set up from the week where it would slide open to have the cube cut basically in half, and I didn't spend a lot of time going over that, but that's one thing that I think some people might have gotten tripped up on. So if I narrow this down so it's easier to see what's going on. By the way, to get those, I hold Shift and Control at the same time, and it automatically gives those little pull boxes that I can drag to resize. Or if I want to rotate it, I hold only Control. If you're not used to building, that might be a thing you don't deal with a lot. And then to reposition the camera, just Control and Alt, then whatever I click on becomes the thing my camera rotates around. Just in case anybody watching this is really new to SL and is still learning how to get around, that's pretty much some of your most useful things to know. But, so in this flattened cube, if I go to rotate it, you can see it just spins around its center. That's very important for 2 of the versions of the door we're going to make. I drag that back out so this is easier to see. If you go in the Object tab in your Edit window, you have Path Cut Beginning and End. You carve that till they get about to the middle, and then you can close this. Then bring that there. Sure, and you just want to make a prim door. This is the best thing to do because this is going to give you the best result. So, again, basing this on the first thing that we did. So what we're going to do is first we're going to do it by itself. This is not attached to anything. So you can put this version of the door anywhere and it will just work. No muss, no fuss. We're going to go and make a new script. The first things we're going to need to know its rotation and its position. If you're not planning on the door moving, you don't need the position, but it's always good to cover all the possibilities. Mainly because it'll make it easier to understand what we need to do on the 3rd version of the door. And you do that with create a say on channel 0 so you can read it. We're going to cast what we're getting as a string. Get rot. That's short for get rotation, if you remember. Now, one of the things that might trip up some people, I haven't spent a lot of time focusing on this, and I probably should have, is when you get these little parentheses, the brackets can be easy to lose track of them. I've done it myself many, many, many times. I still do that regularly. If you want a way to just keep track of them easily without too much trouble, you can array them the way we do with these. Those are just a standard way of dividing up functions. Programmers are used to it. It's a standard best practice kind of thing. If you want to, just for making sure you're keeping track of things, you can do that for here. You have an open parentheses, bring that down. Next one, down. There. Now you have that arrayed pretty much the same way. Actually, we have it slightly off because these should be further in, but you get the idea. You can use this to keep track of where your parentheses are the same way that we'd use them to keep track of where your brackets that divide your functions are. This opens up, gives a variable, then it opens another one to cast a variable as a string, closes that one, so we stay in the same line space. Get rotation, it needs brackets, but there's nothing in them, they just go right there, and then it closes. This will actually compile. This will actually run. If you have all of them placed there correctly, you're not going to have an error. And you see it gave us right here the rotation information. If you're used to thinking of rotation in 3 different degrees, the X, Y, and Z axis, as I explained before, Second Life uses 4. I don't fully get quadrangle geometric. I don't quite get how that works. I just know it does, and I know how to get the information. And how you get it is get rot, for get rotation. Now, you show this to another programmer, they're kind of going to look at this a little bit odd, but the computer, by the way, sees the line breaking here at the semicolon, not here where you break the line to the human eye. So the computer will run that just fine. The computer does not see this as strange or out of place or off-putting. Most people will. So once you get that, just go ahead and put all of these back in proper place. Much easier to read that way. But the other method makes it easier to make sure that your parentheses are all in the right places. We're going to reproduce that because we're only changing this to P-O, if my fingers work, P-O-S for get position. Since we're going to make our usual toggle function, you should be pretty familiar with those by now. There's an integer that determines whether it is one way or another. Integer door equals false, semicolon. And debugging feedback, always useful to have. Integer debug equals true. We can even make these debug right here because you're not going to need them otherwise. If debug again, these just say if that is true, that variable is true, which it is, do this thing. Again, when you're dealing with debug feedback, you're only going to have one operation. You don't have to put the brackets around it, and it makes the line just much easier to look at. Of course, since we do have 2 of them here, we could make it even simpler and do this. There. If you're running debug, it will tell you the position and rotation every time you start the script. If door, if you're just dealing with a simple true-false and you're checking to see if something is true, you can just put if and the name of the variable. In this case, if door, or in here, if debug. If you're doing anything more than a true-false, type the whole thing out. If such and such equals such and such, like equals true. Since there's only two possible modes, true or false, we can just use an else, because if it's not true, it must be false. Door equals false. Close, return. Right now this will fail if I tried to compile it, because I haven't created the close or open functions yet. But you've been with me through a few of these. You know the drill. Close. Sorry, the semicolon at this point is kind of a reflex, but it wasn't needed there because it's not a command. Owner say, this will come only to you. Close door. Really feeling the heat here. Sad part is the air conditioning wall unit is right next to my desk, so I have to keep it turned off when I'm recording these, and right now that is making this room really hot. I figure you all will thank me when you don't have the AC background noise blasting through the entire video. Alright, so we'll save that, see if I screwed anything up. Doesn't look like it. We got the position and rotation. Door open. Door close. Exactly as we should. Alright. Now, for this one, for close, which is what we have, you just go LL set rote, and you can copy this entire piece of data right here. And then do the same thing for get position. Now you want to make the door swing open. So we'll move it to there. Since we already have the information in there, we just save. Oh! I typed get because I was talking about get. Ugh. I'm a derp. Yeah, I'm going to blame my typo up here on being overheated because of lack of air conditioning in the middle of summer. Close, open, close, open. And if you're not going to attach the door to anything, that's all you need. That's literally it. At this point, we're seeing through my arm here. At this point, if we turn off debug, that will automatically disable all of our feedback messages. So it saves, you don't get any other data. Close, open, close, open, close, open. If all you need is just a basic door attached to nothing else, that's all you need right there. That'll do you. Now, if you want to have it be part of something else, like we had last week, that gets a touch more complicated. You see it will automatically return to its previous position. A couple weeks ago, when we did this, we actually had double doors. And if you want those to connect, you're going to want to do something a little bit different. This is another Mark I cube. Just hollow it out, hold Control, flip it on its side, hold both Shift and Control, size it back, and we'll make a decent door frame. These are too small to walk through, but they're just demonstrations. It doesn't really matter. Click both of those. Join the entire thing together. Alright. Now, this is going to be slightly different. We're actually going to take the script out of there. We're moving it here because we actually want to keep it even as we drop it in there. We want to keep it because we don't have to change the controls for open and close. We only have to worry about these up here. Now, ideally, you would control those remotely. You'd have the script that tells it which link number to change that on. That's a little bit more complicated. So we're going to keep this simple. So we're going to say LL link message. No, message link. There it is. You see, the receiver is called link message and the sender is called message linked. I tend to get the two backwards. Link set. This means we're sending the message through the entire object. Then a channel, 0. It stays inside the object, so you'll never hear it anyway. It doesn't matter. Then we have the message, close. Then we have null key, since it doesn't matter who's sending it. We're going to process it the exact same way every time. If you want to have it respond for different people, you can look through the information I made for my tutorial on creating a suggestion box. That starts that was the week before this and the week before that. So the previous 2 weeks to this one are about creating a suggestion box. That covers what you would need to know about making something behave differently based on who's interacting with it. Here, we don't have to worry about it. We're going to turn the debug back on just so that we know what's going on. And we don't actually need these at all. Those are going to be irrelevant this time. Open door, close door. Fingers, work with me. Brain, stop overheating. Now you could look at the original debug here. What we're going to do is almost identical. There's one crucial difference, and this may have been what tripped some people up, is if it's not the root prim, you can't use get rotation, get position to get it right. It's relative, so it will change based on the position of the main prim, the root prim. So you need get local rote, get local position. Then link message, integer from. That will tell us if you wanted to filter for where in the object it came from. Integer channel, or chan as I prefer. String message, key who. So we have if message equals or is absolutely equal to open, and if message or else if message equals close. We'll save this. And since it is closed, set local rote. That's the key difference. If it's completely independent, you just need get rote and get position, or get pos. If it's linked to something and it's not the root, you need get local. Set local rotation. Position is a little odd. You only need the regular set position command, whether it's the root or not. I actually goofed up a little bit before when I told you otherwise. I told you even people who've been at this for years can't always keep every detail in their head all at the same time. That's an example of it. I had to double check the wiki. So the set position works for either one. You still need get local position because that is a position relative to the root prim, but if it is not the root prim, set position always sets it relative to the root prim, so it's just a matter of getting that sorted out. If you used get position, it would get wonky. You need get local. Weird little bit, kind of annoyingly inconsistent, but it's one of those things you just look up once in a while and live with. So we are going to now adjust this for open. Save. New numbers came in. This is the local rotation. This is the local position. We can close that, save that. Whoops. Delete those. There we go. It automatically ran when it went in, so we now have the local rotation for close. Yeah, silly. Local position for close. And we go ahead and open it, so we'll get the ones for open now. Notice the position didn't change. They're the same if you look at them closely. That's because we didn't actually move the prim. It's good practice to have, you don't technically have to have both. It's technically adding a little more to the runtime of the script. But this is about teaching you the things you need to know. So if you leave it out, if it's not going to move, you're not going to miss anything. But it's good to have. And there you are. That is how we made the joined doors that work in sync. Now the last version we're going to do, we're going to go back to this, make a copy of this. That is shift and drag, by the way. Now we're going to make it a full thing here. Debug is true. Position for close. We didn't rotate it, so you can see that's the same as it was before. We only adjusted its position. Now, let us assume that you're putting this door against a frame of some kind. This also gives us an easy reference point. Don't need that going through my floor. Now in the previous version, the position didn't have to change. In this one here, the position stayed the same. It was only the rotation. It doesn't move unless we moved it. So we can plug that position in here. So this door will stay in the same place, it will just turn. See? But that's not the behavior we want. You can see it's moving away from its post. That's not the way a real door behaves. So we're going to move it to where it will go. Right about there. Run it again with debug. It gives us its position and rotation information. There's the rotation. So that is open rotation and open position. Now remember, this door is not linked to its post. These are not relative to anything. These are absolute, in place. They are relative to the position of the sim. And you also see here why I said the other method is better. Because it takes a second for the engine, for second life, to process the change in position or rotation. You wind up with a delay. You see, the door adjusted its rotation, and a half a second later adjusted its position. That is not the most realistic of doors. This is a much more realistic door, because it's only adjusting its rotation. Well, it's adjusting both its rotation and its position, but you only see it adjusting its rotation. That's the only part that matters. Here, again, the rotation is the only part that matters, because it's only a half thing there. Also, because all of that was set relative to the root prim, it adjusts itself no matter how this is moved. So either this one here or this are far preferable ways to build a door than this one. If you have a mesh or a sculpt door that is designed to have its technical center, the center of the object, not just the center of what you see at its hinge here, that'll work fine. If you want to create something with another door, a mesh or a sculpt door that you really like, what you can do is you take a prim like this one, prepared the way we just prepared this one. Just assume this is some other prettier door that you found somewhere on the marketplace. You can attach that prettier door to your other prim. You have to make sure that the one that is scripted is the root. Remember, we had its position set. Now it works just fine. This prim that we scripted controls the entire object. So if you have a pretty door you found somewhere that you want to script up like this, but it isn't made to have its center be on the side, I know that sounds really weird, but in a virtual sense it actually works. If it's not made to have its center be on the side and you want to have it work like it's on a hinge, just create a prim like this, attach the door to it, and then let it work. In this case, we can take out the set position. Again, I put that in there for education purposes. I put that in there just to make it easier to go from one script to another to get to this one over here, and to teach you things that you may actually have reasons to use some other time. And now without the position in there, it just works. So hopefully this revisiting of doors will help clarify anything that was hard to understand the first time. Again, if there's any further trouble, please mention it in the comments. Barring that, go ahead and look me up in Second Life. My user ID is accessible through the freebies that are linked in most of these videos, so it's pretty easy to find me. So until next week, I hope this cleared things up. Good day, good luck, and happy programming.